Is it just for someone to be sentenced for a crime someone else committed? What if they even willingly offer to serve out the sentence? Would we recognize such a judge that allows this as a perfect arbiter on justice? Many Christians claim God is perfectly just, that he's a perfect being. But perhaps by your own lights, is it expected that a perfect being would submit billions upon billions of conscious creatures to suffering at the expense of someone else's decisions? If you don't see a problem with that, but see a problem in the former cases, I suspect that you might have some massive tension in the view. Now, compact this with the idea that Adam and Eve also perfectly perceived, but also somehow misperceived, which seems can only be explained by some type of coercion. Maybe you disagree, but call the show because we're starting now and we want to hear. Oh, got no audio, Johnny.
Hey everybody! Hey everybody in
today.
YouTube land! Everything that could have gone wrong almost went wrong today, but we're here and we're having a good time. Today is still January 14th, 2024. I'm your host, Johnny P. Angel, and I'm here with J Mike and Kelley. How are you doing, guys?
Good. It's been this whole process of, even when I go, I'm writing kind of some notes out, and then I look at it, I'm like, oh, I just am grammatically just all over the place here. So it's individual and collective, but we're here to learn from each other and fix our mistakes. So
Kelley, how about you?
I'm doing great. I can't believe I'm here with the two of you guys. It's like a dream come true for me. So,
well, wake up. It's not a dream. It's real. And believe it. Seeing is believing. People out there in YouTube land, it's Atheist Experience. It's technical issues. It's a star-studded cast of people that you've been waiting to see. And some of you in the comments have been so impatient. Well, we're going to give you more than what you ever wanted and could bargain for. The Atheist Experience is a product of the Atheist Community of Austin, a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to the promotion of atheism, critical thinking, secular humanism, and the separation of religion and government all day long. And we have a question of the week that we'd like to start off the show with. And that question is this. Last week we asked you, what is something God did that was unhinged? And we asked you to put those comments, those suggestions in the comments below, and then we sifted through and we picked out our favorite three. And number 3 from Mel Beard, God unhinged, placed male reproductive organs on the outside of the body, made them very sensitive and in a very vulnerable area. I suppose that was a bit unhinged. Number 2, Plutopia. An unhinged God's behavior is to let believers wrestle with him while mimicking John Cena. You can't see me. J Mike?
Well, it's I thought you're a Mark. No, you're not a wrestling Mark.
Mm-mm.
No, okay, I guess not. Well, we'll just let the Marks in the audience kind of have that one, and then we'll just not. It's just like our life of trying to explain wrestling to all the muggles and the normies.
It's a Jeep thing I wouldn't understand. Got it. All right, and then number 1, single digit driven, says something God did that was unhinged, creating snakes that unhinge their jaws so they can eat stuff way bigger than their own head. I like that one. That would have been my number 1 pick as well.
It is a scary concept, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it works, and good for them. Good for them. They're happy for it. So the prompt this week is, what are SR, secular rarity, and Armin thinking so hard about? Give us your wrong answers only. Kelley, what's your wrong answer?
I think that they're probably thinking about, why is this person calling me again?
Okay. All right, J Mike, what do you think?
Can you put that back up, because it's more, I guess, on SRs that I wanted to state. But SR looked like, to me, when I saw, well, I don't know if I saw a bunch of images. One looked like, if I was mistaken. It looked like Armin was looking outside and it looked like someone was like stealing his car or something. So that was one of them, but that one's not up right now. It looked like when I saw this with Secular Rarity, I thought like had they been combined, it would be Armin thinking someone's stealing his car, and Secular Rarity's just like, shit, I didn't turn off the oven. And just like get off during the call and go downstairs and turn it off.
I'm going with toilet paper is on someone's shoe. Armin can't stop looking, and SR is trying to find a tactful way to tell them, well, thank you for your answers, chaps, but I know we all really care to see what the viewers have to say. So put your comments in the comments, and we will reveal our top 3 next week. All right. So, what you say? We start our show off with Mike, a theist from Georgia, and he says it was flying creatures, not birds, but were created during creation. Mike from Georgia, you are on the Atheist Experience with 3 of my favorite people.
All right. Wow. So yeah, that was pretty quick. I was on hold for at least a minute. I just like to thank you for allowing me to be on the show. I know you all are busy people, and I know that you all probably have thousands of people calling in, and it's always lovely to speak to y'all. I just wanted to clear something up. I found that one of the speakers, it wasn't neither of you gentlemen, it was the speaker kind of with the cute little hairstyle, kind of like yellowish hair. I forgot his name, but he talked about how the Bible was wrong when it came to the 5th day of creation, and how it said that birds came along with the land animals, and thus this is wrong because because birds evolved from dinosaurs, and which would make the creation order wrong. I just like to say that in the Hebrew, it translates to flying creatures, not birds. So a lot of times people would like view the Bible as an English book, and would view like the English translations as the be all end all, when you need to realize that it's Hebrew, and it makes more sense because
Mike, can I interrupt real quick, because I want to not forget a point you made. I don't know if you were talking to Forrest. You might have been talking to Forrest, but like I'm okay with any of these moments where it's like, hey, there's some ambiguity with the language. It might not have meant this or that. But presumably, like, you have a view where you know what it says, like you think what it says, you make a claim about what it says, and that's not like compatible with, evolutionary biology. So there's a difference between the views. So I think it'd be better just to kind of understand what your view is. What kind of does it make any predictions? Is it just a story? Like, can we have any expectations given the Christian theistic hypothesis? What should expect in the future with creatures? So to me, it seems like an inert just so story, and I'm not really interested in getting into like the minutia of that. I just want to know, like, what's your view and what evidence can you give me so that I can just join your team, right? That seems like an easier way to go about it. What do you think about that?
I don't really understand. Well, I mean, it sounds all good, but I don't really understand what you mean by what's my view. I'm just simply talking about like the Hebrew and how the Hebrew translations affect the English.
What I'm concerned on is explaining the biodiversity in the world, not like this game about language and what somebody could mean. You presumably do have a view in terms of you think the Bible is correct, but I'm asking, like, when I look at the biodiversity in the world, I don't see that that's compatible with the story that the Bible gives, right? But I see like predictions that are made in evolutionary biology, right? Phenomena being described and modeled, optimal like prey-predator ratios or optimal foraging statistics. So we have like all of this massive stuff. I'm asking, like, what do you have on that end? Because I have like this giant sack of stuff on one side, and I'm looking at the other side, and I'm like, it's not clear to me that you even have anything, right?
let me make this clear. I have nothing because I'm not science. I mean, science more or less is something that we discover, and I have nothing particular. Now, what are you asking particularly? Like,
Why should we believe this? Why should we? I'm asking why should we believe that the biblical account gives the best account for biodiversity in the world? That's all I'm asking.
Why should you believe? Well, I don't really, other than the Bible, I don't really know why you should believe, because it's always an individual by individual basis why they believe.
Why do you believe?
But I can't really speak on why.
Why do you believe?
Go ahead.
Why do you believe?
More or less, I believe because of my father. My father had an experience with an angel in which he told me about this, and I totally outright believe him. And he told me this detail of him having this experience with an angel, more or less, when he was in a coma, and he was. Do
you think that's a good methodology to listen to what someone else's, like, you would agree that their experience is necessarily first person to them? You didn't experience it. Do you think it's like, seems to me like it's sloppy to accept the word of somebody else, even if there's someone really trusted to you on that claim? Like, I mean, I don't know, Johnny or Kelley, what do you got? Because like this to me just seems like we've highlighted now the methodology and like the direct issue with where your chain of reasoning is going. Because if you're accepting it based on like your father's experience, like I'm not trying to take anything away from your father or the valued experience that he might have or what you took out of it, but is that really a good method to determine that there's truth to that? Because I don't.
I'm actually wondering what the point is.
I'm sorry. Who else is speaking? Because I'm not watching the show. I don't know when you all are speaking or not. All I hear is noises. So if somebody's going to speak, just say, "Hey, I'm going to speak," and then I'm going to let you talk.
That's not how we're going to do it. I'm sorry, Mike. It's our show, and you can participate in our show, or you cannot. But here's how it's going to work. Okay, Kelley has a question for you. Why don't you answer Kelley's question?
Speak over anybody. That's why.
I know you don't. I know you don't. I think you're polite. So rather than talking about talking, let's just talk. So Kelley, ask a question. He's going to verbally indicate that there is a period on the end of that question, or a question mark, rather. And then you'll answer that as best you can. And if you can't, just say you don't know. So go ahead, Kelley, and ask your question.
I'm wondering what is the significance of your argument? I from what I understand you're saying is that where it says that God created all the flying creatures, not just birds, right? Okay, let's say we grant that to you. What difference does that make?
I just wanted to point this out for clarification, because a lot of times when people read this in English and they see birds, they're like, okay, so Genesis has it wrong in the order scale, because everybody knows that, of course, reptiles came from land animals, and then reptiles formed into birds after a certain amount of time. I just wanted to clarify that when it came to that. Now, if you want to talk about other subjects, we can.
Yeah, that's clearly what
you all can speak.
Thank you so much for that. Bookmarking is very helpful. Signposting, some people call it. So, Mike from Georgia,
thank you.
I will acknowledge to you that the Bible may say flying things as opposed to birds. All right? That's all good and fine. No one who does any advanced research into the study of birds or flying things uses the Bible as a source of information, especially any passages within Genesis. The information is effectively useless to us in any meaningful way of learning anything new or functional about birds. So it's jolly good that the Bible says that God created flying things. And we all know that the spies of Saruman oftentimes are birds. Many spies have many eyes. Who cares what an ancient Bronze Age sex manual says about flying things? So to go back to what Kelley said and to go back to what J Mike said, it sounds like, although you called to talk about how people erroneously treat the Bible as an English textbook or an English written book. We're like, yeah, you're right. That's true. And we kind of skip over that, right? We kind of just go to, we'll address arguments as though it's written in English, because we're not going to go into the linguistic history, the etymology of every phrase and prepositional clause and what have you. But notwithstanding that, it sounds like you care about what the Bible says. And it sounds like you care about the Bible says because you believe in it. And the reason why you believe in it, you've identified as an experience that you've gotten from your father, who has given you a personal testament of his own experience while he was in a coma, of his experiences with an angel. Now I'm going to ask you this. Okay. Do you believe every single thing that your father tells you?
It's depending on what he tells me, but in general, no.
Okay, why? Why don't you believe every single thing that your father tells you?
I mean, it's situational. It's depending on what he tells me. I mean, I can't give you an overall like reason why, but if I have to, if a gun to my head and I have to answer, it's because humans can be wrong and humans could err, and that's my answer. You can. I'm done speaking.
All right, very good. Thank you again for the signposting. So humans can be wrong. Humans can be in error. You don't believe your father in everything he says because you're not an unintelligent person. You know that sometimes people get it wrong, and it's not because they're stupid or they're irresponsible or because they're evil in any way. It's just the nature of human existence, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, question. So if your father said, I witnessed a car accident on the way home, right? That's a pretty banal situation. You'd be like, well, tell me about it. And he told you about it, and he said a red car and a blue car collided, and the ambulance was there, traffic was stopped. You'd probably believe him, right? Because car accidents happen and people see car accidents, and he described the usual kind of things that would happen when a car accident would take place, right? You probably believe it. You take it on his word alone, right?
Absolutely.
But what if he said, on the way home, I saw a pterodactyl fly out of the sky and carry away a Bichon Frise puppy? Would you believe him if he said that?
I would be highly skeptical, but I would hold my belief until I get some more evidence.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think you're skeptical of that?
Because pterodactyls haven't existed in a long time, and I don't know what the hell a Bichon, whatever the heck you just said. So that's why.
It's a poodle. It's like a poodly dog. It's not a poodle. I apologize to all the poodle fans out there. It's a lap dog. It's a little fluffy lap dog. I've had friends with them. They're wonderful little dogs. They bark a lot. But so your father.
Why are y'all being so fancy?
I am as God made me. So if your father came home and said, I was driving home, right, and I was in a vehicle accident, and my head hit the steering wheel, and I was semi-conscious, I was delirious, I vomited on the street, I lost consciousness, and I woke up, and I saw the paramedics and the police next to me, and I saw a pterodactyl, right? You might say, I wonder if the fact that he was in a vehicular collision may have been the reason why he saw something that I know no one ever sees because they're extinct. Right?
Notice how that raises the prior probability that could explain it, right? When you have those things available to you. But absent those things, like your prior probability of assuming that there was a pterodactyl, it's like non-existent. But it seems similarly the case with angels, right? Like I don't know about you. I've never been visited by an angel. I've never seen them. I don't know that they're documented. People talk about them and have imaginations about them. But presumably, if you agree with what Johnny said, and you don't have the angel, but you have this story of all of the details, but you're missing kind of the crucial component, why would we think that there's a higher likelihood that story is true. To me, it seems very clear that it's kind of antithetical to all of the background information that we all share together.
More importantly, he was in a coma. Mike from Georgia, he was in a coma. And in my scenario, my hypothetical, he was in a vehicular collision and bumped his head. In both situations, there has been some trauma to the person's... Say again?
He fell out of a helicopter. He didn't hit his...
Wow.
He fell out of a helicopter. He was actually blown off.
Yeah. Mike, I think you're missing my point. In your real life scenario, your father fell out of a helicopter and was in a coma. Sorry to hear that. I hope that he was all right. Although I imagine for a while he was not. I'm talking about in my hypothetical, he was in a vehicle accident and he hit his head. In either event, he is in a state where he had either brain injury or some sort of traumatic physical injury that caused him to not be in a conscious state, interacting with individuals in the usual way that you and I and J Mike and Kelley are doing, right? In either way, his brain was in a non-normative state, if you want to say it, and he was out cold, delirious, or in a coma. Once you add that fact into the equation, why can you not see very clearly that when brains are out of the normal state of being, they do funny things. We hear voices, we see things. When people do drugs,
I was about to say
see things,
drugs,
right? And it's no fault of the individual. It's not a lack of moral character that they saw this. It's not a lack of intelligence. It's not a lack of anything. But when the brain gets jostled, if I may use a phrase, they start experiencing things in a weird way. And you admitted earlier that you don't believe your father on every single situation. It's situational that you believe him because he can be wrong, because he's a human. Why can you not accept the fact that he may have been just the victim of an altered brain state due to being in a coma, and he imagined, he had a hallucination, but it felt very real to him?
Also, if he had fallen out of a helicopter and went into a coma, I'm assuming that there was some kind of traumatic brain injury involved in it too. So how do we know that his brain was working correctly when he had this vision?
I mean, probably not. But he also woke up to my grandmother's prayers, so that kind of like helps out with my belief also. Like, he was in a coma for a couple of months, and then he woke up to my grandmother's prayers once he visited once my grandmother visited him in the hospital. Then he woke up to my grandmother's prayers, and then he rehabbed for a couple of years. Then he met my mother, had me, and then 2 years later, he had my brother on the same day as me, and I was born on the 7th. So that kind of like really shifts my view on like my life, because I'm like, all of these fantastic things are happening at once in my life. Like,
fantastic. Wait,
born on the 7th.
Wait, hold on, Mike. Fantastic. Like, are you lumping in the experience that your father went through such that you could have the revelation as like a good thing? Because like, it seems odd that that's how the message has to be delivered through some horrific crash. And it seems like there's a way better methodology. Are you lumping that?
The Lord works in mysterious ways, J Mike. I would say more to the point, and I think maybe where you're getting, J Mike, is that we do know that people in comas. We know this from the database of knowledge that we have about people who have traumatic brain injuries. People do wake up to the voice of their loved ones, right? Not always prayer. They wake up, they start responding to the world. The voice of a familiar person, a familiar voice of a person they love, draws them out of their coma. We know that happens, right? You acknowledge that, Mike from Georgia?
Absolutely.
Right. Okay. And so, go on. Continue.
Oh, okay. I was gonna let you finish. But I'll start talking. I'm gonna be only I'm only gonna talk for a short bit. But here's the thing. My grandmother did not get a chance to visit my father until like maybe a few weeks until he was in his coma, because he was fighting in like in the Gulf War, and his helicopter blew up, and he fell from the sky, hit the ground, was unconscious, had for weeks nurses nursing to him, probably heard several thousand things, and then up, he hears one prayer from my grandmother, and he wakes up, and he's just
because the brain recognizes the voice.
The brain recognizes the voice. Mike
that
from Georgia, your standards of evidence are very low. It sounds like, and I'm not sure if you're a jokester, because you're having a good time, and we love it when people have a good time on our calls, but you do sound like maybe you're a jokester, because the reason why it sounds like you're a jokester is because, honestly, if I were to hear this kind of talk outside of this show, like at a party or something like that, like, get the out of here, dude. Come on. You know better than that. But maybe you don't. There's a lot of people who call the show who actually believe these kind of things, and perhaps you're one of them. Look, you said he heard a lot of different voices. He was in a coma for a period of weeks or however many days. How unusual is it for people to remain in comas, for their brain to be healing and rewiring itself, whatever it is that brains do? I'm sure Shannon Q could tell us more about that. And then finally, after having healed for a period of time, he heard a familiar voice at the right moment. She could have been reading The Cat in the Hat, and he would have woken up to that. It may be. Why are you so certain that it was the prayer that did it?
I mean, it's because my father told me, and I don't really believe that it could be coincidence after coincidence after coincidence just stacking up to form just one solid story. Like, this is an unbelievable story. And
no, it's very believable, Mike.
Oh man.
So your mother prayed, your grandmother prayed to sweet Jesus, asking for her son to be released from the bonds of an injury, a coma. And God had an eternal plan and said, "Oh, wait, hold on. Line item veto. I'm going to change that. I'm going to write, he awakens from his coma and he is fine. He's going to tell the story to his son after he meets his wife, and send it off to the presses." Meanwhile, there are people in developing nations who are being tortured, attacked, starved, murdered, other things that are terrible that I won't say. They call out with all of their soul, all of their heart, all of their need and desperation to a God that just sends another hurricane their way. And that's the cosmic justice that you think exists in the world.
Yes, and well, I wouldn't call that cosmic justice, but I know it's an incredible story, and that's why I feel so humbled by this incredible God that he shared this story with me.
Yeah,
like
I
feel so honored that.
Sure.
Well, do you want to speak?
No, but I don't believe you.
Do you want to speak?
Yeah, I do want to speak. I'm going to go ahead and mute you. I don't believe you. I don't believe that anyone could be so callous. I'm very spicy today, folks out there in YouTube land. I'm very, very spicy, and I am going to now turn the rest of this call over to J Mike and Kelley, because I think that they would handle the rest of it better than I would. So let me go ahead and unmute.
I'm just honestly, like, I feel like we've kind of hit the head on it. You have a view. You don't have, I mean, to kind of recap, I wanted to know what the evidence was for the bio, because I thought you were going to go more into talking about the biblical account, and how that's a better account of biodiversity on the earth. But I didn't really get any of that. I didn't get any evidence or something new that we don't currently know that we could tell from the Christian God hypothesis, or however you want to phrase it. And then we kind of narrowed down that your methodology was accepting something that your father had said. We pointed out kind of many issues with that. So I don't really know where else to take it with you, Mike, to be honest. Like, do you think, let me just ask you, do you think that this is a good methodology? Do you think that this guarantees truth for you? Do you go on your life like not doubting this is sufficient for you? Because it's hard for me to believe that you do this as well.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm quite fine right now with like the evidence that God gave me, and I just like to respond to what the gentleman, I don't know what his name is, but I don't know why it's cruel like for me to acknowledge my story. Like I get that other people suffer throughout the world, but if I take that like personally and be like, man, why should I eat because millions of people aren't? Like I can't. I acknowledge that other people are suffering in the world, and this humbles me as a human being. I'm not boastful. I'm not saying to myself, okay, so God gave me this incredible story.
Mike, before we go off on another tangent about something else, let's go back to the story about your father and the angel. And Johnny asked you whether you would believe that about the pterodactyl taking away the small dog, and you said no. I would want more evidence. And I'm wondering why you believe the one story about the angel without more evidence, but you're willing to not believe the pterodactyl and the dog story without more evidence. Over.
Because pterodactyls are physical creatures, so if it flew away, it would probably fly away.
But don't you understand that we think a god is a mythological creature? It's not a creature that exists either.
Over.
Well, sorry, Johnny, I forgot the over.
Huh? I'm sorry. Could you repeat yourself? I didn't hear you.
Maybe we should over and out.
I think we might want to over and out, but maybe we should. Kelley,
Kelley asked a really good question. Yeah.
Kelley, would you please ask that question again? Over.
My question is that we think that God is also a mythological creature, like you think the pterodactyl is or doesn't exist today in the earth. So what is the difference between the two when it comes to asking for evidence? Over.
I didn't say that a pterodactyl is a mythological creature. I said a pterodactyl.
Well, I quantified it by saying that it or doesn't exist in the earth today. Like we don't know that a God exists on the earth today. We don't have the evidence for that, right? So I'm asking you why you would ask for evidence for one and not the other when both things don't exist on the earth as far as we know. Over.
Well, God did not go extinct like a couple of million years ago, and if you.
But we don't know that God ever existed, Mike. You're not even showing us that God ever existed. You're just assuming that we believe that.
Roger, Kelley.
Well, I'm just a regular layman. I don't know how I could show you that God existed. Like, do you have like a standard or a test?
Well, me personally, I would want unambiguous empirical evidence personally, but that's not what I'm asking you for. What I'm asking you for is why one situation you believe you need more evidence for, but you don't need more evidence for the other situation, when both situations involve a being that doesn't exist on the earth.
But in one case, we actually have evidence that one of the beings did actually exist.
Well, a pterodactyl like did exist on the earth at some point, but these are two different things. Like if I
did a god,
a lion escaped. Hold on, can I finish? All right, who wants to talk? Y'all can talk.
No, over. Go ahead.
No,
sorry, that's my bad.
You. Go ahead.
That's my bad.
Okay, so who wants to talk? Do anybody want to talk?
Well, Mike, we're just gonna move on if we're gonna play the charades. It's your turn. Go ahead.
Yeah. Mike, give us your evidence for the existence of God, and then we're going to over and out you. All right? Go ahead. Best evidence.
We can put the clock up if we need.
Put the clock up. Actually, you know what? Put the clock up. And the clock, Mike, is going to be 60 American seconds, where you can give us, I want you to think about it, Mike. Give us your best evidence that you can think of, the thing that's most compelling to you, right? And we'll decide if it's compelling to us for the existence of a God. All right?
Hold on.
If you
Other than my
we're
personal story,
we're gonna start.
We got
We're starting the clock. Just say over when you're done. If you don't need all the 60 seconds, go ahead.
Go for it.
Okay, well, I mean, I don't know what to give you, like, as in, like, evidence. I didn't really come prepared. I just wanted to say my personal story and then be done with it. So if you want to stop talking, then we could stop talking right now. But I don't really have, like, I guess I could Google something if you want me to, but I don't really have, like evidence.
Let's just
Evidence
concede.
like
Like,
that.
I think we're over and out
Yeah.
here. We appreciate it, Mike. I mean, you
Yeah,
seem
Mike.
like a nice person to talk to, but we're just like we're on different levels of like what we value in terms of evidence, what we care about in terms of like what convinces us, propositions that we're willing to accept. I think we're just playing a different game than you are playing.
Yeah, Mike, thanks for calling. I'm going to go ahead and over and out you, and I'm letting you go. So, folks at home who are watching this, you might think, why did we spend so much time with this call? Because in this call, there's a nutshell of the kind of calls we get over and over again. And it's not just Mike from Georgia who says it, and sometimes they're a little bit more articulate or not, but it usually comes down to something I can't explain happened, and I have no other explanation for it. I concluded that it was sweet baby Jesus or Allah on his flying horse, or it was, one of them elephant or monkey gods from Hinduism or whatever. And it has to be them because I can't think of anything else. Even though when other people make claims that are fantastical, things you don't run into every day, I don't believe those claims. How do they know that it was Vishnu? How do they know it was Zarathustra? Oh, I don't believe that those gods exist. And so we got a perfect example of this here. And I think we were hoping that Mike was going to rise to the occasion and was going to give us something a little bit more than nothing. Thoughts?
Yeah, I was a little disappointed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would just add as also a Mike from Georgia myself, Johnny, you'd be surprised that when I have these conversations with people and in the out in the open in Georgia, you get some stories kind of like this. So it might be different. It might be different where you're at, but where I'm at, this is it's par for the course. So
I get a lot of those stories here too, Mike. Over.
Over.
I love that. I was at a I had a house guest some time ago, and a nice person, but this person was into astrology, and I said, we're cool, and I was like, yeah, Jane, but how does that work, And it's, I guess, comforting to believe that astrology works. It's the world is filled with complicated and frightening things that we can't control, and it can be comforting to believe that there's a formula, and if you just study it, you'll get your answers. And usually, the answers are so darn vague, you can't prove or disprove anything. And the same thing with angels. His father, he loves his father, I assume, and his father saw an angel, and the angel talked to him, and all this jazz. And that there's a loving embrace. The bosom of Abraham is waiting for us all, and that's comforting.
Well, e-meters in Scientology might be comforting as well, but
sure.
Electrical impulses don't really give you mental mass. So
agreed. Well, you want to know something? We've been running our brick fundraiser for a while, and we will be completing phase 1 at the end of this month. Our featured brick this week was purchased by Larry in Texas, who engraved, quote, "Brick is not to be used for stonings." Be a bricking, wouldn't it? Thank you so much for your purchase, Larry. It looked great at the building. You can get your brick at tiny.cc/ACA bricks before the end of this month.
I love that. That was a good one.
Yeah, I like that. Further, we have a channel that houses all the shows of the ACA in audio podcast form. Visit tiny.cc/AEN podcasts. And there you can listen to all the latest shows from the Atheist Experience, Talk Heathen, Truth Wanted, Nonprofits, and all the other shows that we've ever done on one channel. You can send us a super chat. You sure can. And people have been doing it. So we'll read as many as we can on the air. And we like to read them. They're a lot of fun. In fact, why don't we read one super chat just to show how much fun it is? Kelley, you have the chat. Why don't you do the first one?
I will. It's from Gayest Husky's Master, and it says, they sent us $5 and it says Jesus being whipped and then disciplined on the cross was merely foreplay for his second coming.
This has
Sorry,
been
that was
a
great.
2,000-year refractory period. Huh? Good
Those,
for you,
yeah,
Jesus.
those jokes never get old to me.
No, they do not. No, they do not. All right. Well, let me tell you, we'll get to more super chats a little bit later. But the ACA wants you to know what's going on in our community. And for that, we've got an updated website. Head to www.atheist-community.org, where you can learn about the organization itself, its website, its policies, and how you can get involved. And we want to send a big thank you out to the crew who put the show together every week. Crew. Can we see some crew?
Some crew. There's some crew. There's a little bit of crew.
There's the real heroes right there.
Look at that. Not all heroes wear capes or have.
You get a crew cut now.
You should get a crew cut, James.
I'm not probably. What's a haircut? What is that?
I don't even know.
Don't ask me.
I'm not sure.
Kelley, you should do what I do. I'll go to like barber shops if I'm like at a mall, and I'll just walk into the barber shop and go, "What is this place?" And it'll like always take them a minute. Once they get it, it's good. I had one time where they didn't get it, and it was really awkward. And I just stood there like, "All right, now I just look like a crazy person, so I'm gonna leave."
You aren't?
I was hoping nobody saw. Yeah, nobody detected me.
We got another call that I'd like to take. We've got a few of them here. And of course, we've got open lines, so go ahead and call. But this one I'm interested in taking next. We've got Maury. Maury is a lady coming from Brazil. And she says, even though I became an atheist, I still do believers things, like pray. Maury, you're on AXP with Kelley, J Mike, and Johnny P. What do you get out of praying? Tell us about that a little bit, would you?
Hello.
Oh, there we go. Hey.
Sorry if I don't understand what he's talking. Sorry if you don't understand what I'm talking, because this is my first conversation in English, so I'm pretty nervous.
You sound perfect.
You sound great.
You sound perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you sound great. So tell us more about this praying business. What do you get out of it?
Thank you. Well, the issue is that I had became atheist with a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with a lot of help of the Atheist Experience. So,
nice.
Right now I am feeling a little bit guilty because before I became an atheist, I just don't realize how religious I was. I never considered myself a religious person.
Okay.
But after I became an atheist, I just realized a lot of things that I did that were considered religious. I talked with God when something bad happens. When I need something, I need I don't know. Some good stuff happens to me. I don't know, and I feel a little bit guilty. Like my whole family is religious. Not my whole family religious, but everyone that I know believe in God.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So
what's the part you feel guilty about?
Like,
Just
it's Sunday night. It's Sunday night here. What?
What's the part? I'm sorry. What's the part that you feel guilty about?
Mm-hmm.
It's Sunday night right now here, and my mother is right now in the church.
Mm-hmm.
She's praying, she's singing, she's really she's a member of the church, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And the most part of the people in that church are from my family. My uncle is my great grand uncle is the pastor. I have a lot of cousins in this church, and it's like you
Do you feel
yeah,
guilty
they are
because you feel like do you feel
they are
guilty because you
there
feel
right
like you're
now.
letting
I think there's a delay.
There is
Yeah.
a delay. So just to wrap it up real quick. So Maury, everyone in your family or a significant portion of the members of your family are in this church. They believe, they participate, and you don't believe. Do you still go to church?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
definitely. And they are right now make this whole thing that's really important to them. And I am here just doing this stuff. I don't believe that God talking to me. I'm just need some good energy, and I don't believe in this energy crystal stuff, but I just need some
It gives
good
you
things.
comfort, right?
And I am here just
Yeah, it gives you
yeah,
it gives you
absolutely.
comfort
I
because
just feel
you it's what you know, right? I mean,
that's
it's
okay.
everything that you
Just
know.
good. Sorry.
No, you're okay. There's a delay, so it's unfortunately that's kind of the card we're dealt with I think being as far away as we are. But it's something that you've known your entire life, right? It's like putting on a shirt or it's like you give anybody who's like never worn clothes for the first time, it's gonna be awkward and very weird, itchy for them, right? It's not for somebody who's their whole life gone through a routine, brush their teeth or whatever, right? None of this is weird to you, and it's so you fall into these habits. um I've never been religious, so it's hard for me. Like, I've had more of a spiritual kind of belief in the past, but I could totally see like what, at least what I could suspect the issue being, is that you're completely divorced from everything that you know. It's like you're starting over. It's like a new birth. It's a new awakening, right? It's like an atheist awakening. And so you don't have any of the tools that you used to have. You have completely different tools, and you're developing and you're sharpening those tools so that you can reason better as you go through. And this is the part, Mari, that is gonna fucking suck the most, because you're gonna have to deal with all the stuff on the outside with your family, feeling guilty like you do when you shouldn't have to feel guilty. Right? There's no reason you should feel guilty if you express to people, hey, I don't believe what you believe in. I'm okay with you practicing what you practice. As long as there's no tension coming in from this side, we should be all good. There's no reason you should feel guilty. And I think it's just this lack of having the tools sharpened because you're just kind of getting over that hump, presumably. I don't know. What do you think about that? Is that accurate towards your situation, or am I way off?
Yeah. The point is, I never was a religious person. So
Oh, I thought you said you were. I'm sorry.
this thing.
Yeah,
And
I did too, Mike. I
well,
thought she
the
said she'd just
point,
become an atheist a few months ago.
Yeah. Maybe we mean different things by being a religious person.
Yeah.
I guess
yeah.
I want to
So
be concrete about this, and I think we're going to let you go just because I do think we have that delay and it makes it difficult to talk a bit. But do you feel pressured to come
yeah,
out to your family about being an atheist?
no, they actually I never was really close to. I was physically close to this church stuff, but I never was in the church stuff. I always think about church boring, the whole thing. Actually, I like the religion stuff. I am really passionate about the the I like see the rituals. I am a really crybaby, so I even be emotional when I see religion.
It's okay. Johnny's a big crybaby too.
But
For sure.
But church to me is boring. But church to me really boring.
Yeah, Maury, I agree. I'm gonna go ahead and just say I think you're not alone in any of this. That those of us who believed or didn't believe and came to not believe, there's a bit of a going through the motions that we have all done as we're distancing ourselves from the communities that we belong to, filled with people who do believe. There's a lot of comfort a person can get from engaging in ritual. I have friends who don't believe in magic, but they do ritualistic ceremonial witchcraft because that gives them a kind of a headspace to think about and process the thoughts and feelings that they have in their very busy lives. It's not unusual to find yourself in one way or another as we say, the black sheep of the family. I don't know if you have that phrase in Portuguese, but the person who doesn't quite fit with the rest of the family when it comes to certain practices. For me, it was sports. On one side of my family, a bunch of sports people. I couldn't care at all about sports, and so I, didn't need to make a deal about it, but I just didn't engage. And so, if you don't feel the need to express to your family that you don't believe in whatever the family does, church-wise, I don't see the benefit of you doing so. But I wouldn't feel guilty that you don't believe. I wouldn't feel guilty that you engage in a kind of meditative prayer or presence of mind practice. I would just keep on listening to that inner voice telling you what you need, and finding community of other people, a community filled with other people who don't believe or who believe like you do. But I actually am going to let you go. I just final thoughts, guys.
Well, I mean, Kelley, you go ahead. I have something I want to say kind of after this. It's not really related to Mari's, but related to the overall kind of thing.
I was going to say, don't feel guilty because you feel like you're letting your family down. This isn't about your family. This is about you. And just because you don't have the same religious ideals as your family doesn't mean you should feel guilty over that. And I feel that that's why you're getting these guilt feelings, because you feel like you're letting your family down. Don't do that. You don't have to feel that way. You are you. You're your own individual. You can't help what you believe. So you shouldn't feel guilty for that. That's about the only thing the only advice I can give you, honestly. That, and stick with it. I mean, keep looking for the evidence and don't back down. Do what you need to do. Do what you need to do.
Do what you need to do.
Yeah, do what you need to do for you.
J Mike, what about you? You had some thoughts?
I do. This is more on the, because I don't know if Mari's familiar with like Scientology or something like that, but I was going to use this example. I was been watching some like documentaries, and I like watching crazy cult stuff and just peering into the inside of these beliefs. And I was watching one where one of the person that left was like a head security guy from the Church of Scientology, would still bring his e-meter with him. And knew it was bullshit. Knew it just read electrical impulses. Didn't actually measure the mental mass or whatever they claim. Right? It's not reading your thetans. But he still got some solace and some comfort. And in the documentary, it showed him like packing up. It was like very. You could tell it's part of the transitioning period where I'm sure maybe today he no longer has the aid of it. But yeah, I see this with even things where people go, I know this e-meter is bullshit. Like I know it is. I know Scientology is bullshit, but I have to go through the therapeutic practice of auditing. It's just for whatever reason gives them comfort. And I think that extends to any belief really you could ever have where you have certain traditions. It's just the way our brain works. It's our biology. We're so pattern seeking. We get comfortable really quick. And I think, it can extend to anything, religious beliefs or not.
Yeah. Yeah, nothing unusual there. But yeah, keep processing. Do whatever you need to do ritualistically to process it. Some friends do tarot cards. Some friends meditate. Some people exercise. Some people do community service and have quiet moments. But I don't think it's unusual to do any of that stuff. All right.
Yep.
So looking at George George is a guy from the continent of Europe.
Hello?
And George believes that we are eternal beings. And that is why you believe in a higher power / mind / creator, George. That's a lot there. Okay. Why do you believe? Let me put it this way, George, you said what you believe. We want to know why. So why do you believe that we, I assume all human beings, are eternal beings? Give us your best summary, and we will take it from there.
So I believe that we are eternal souls, and a person is like a suit. And I believe there are infinite universes.
Okay.
And
all right.
reality.
Okay, I'm going to pause you right there before the wolf pack comes at you. Okay.
That's a lot in itself, right there.
That's a lot in itself. But George, I don't give a flying hoot. Right at this particular moment, what you believe. I want to know why you believe it. So back up, rewind the tape or whatever, and tell me why you believe those things, right? Because a lot of people call with all kinds of claims, 7-day week proves God, all this stuff, right? But I want to know why that's convincing or why you believe those things. Okay, so tell us why. Start over again. Why?
So we have a non-physical side.
How do you know that?
Because the mind is very close to the non-physical.
How do you know that the mind is close to the non-physical?
The mind is also a construct like the individual person.
George, hold on. Let's stick to one thing real quick. Why do you think the mind is non-physical? What's the reason that you have?
Because it is created by us this way.
Wait.
That's a just so
and
story.
When I say, excuse me, when I say us,
how do we use the mind and then create the mind? Like, that sounds like you have some weird bootstrapping issue there. Like,
yeah.
like you have to have the mind to I don't know.
George, I appreciate you calling in. All right. And I want to say that right off the bat. I don't know if you talk about these things all the time with friends and other people in your life, but it can be unusual to try to break down what are core beliefs to a bunch of strangers with what will be tens of thousands of people watching and criticizing every word you have to say. With that said, eventually you kind of get used to it and the hate comments. So what I'm going to say here is you have to speak to us like we're simple people. And it's not because we are stupid, although I make a very good case that I am. But we don't understand what you understand. So you're going to have to connect every single dot for us. Okay? Explain it like we're little kids. Okay.
Let me first say that, excuse me, there is a set number of souls that are eternal and have never been created.
All right, I'm going to stop you.
Why do we have so many assumptions?
George,
why are there so many assumptions?
George, how do you know that? You're going to have to. Okay, how do you know that souls exist? How do you know that they're created? How do you know that there's a set number? How do you know any of this?
There's so much baggage.
You're guessing. Like, maybe this is satisfying for you because you thought it up, or you heard it from somebody you trust, like one of our earlier callers. But like, how do you know this? Did you have a personal experience of this? Did you
there are,
have a vision?
there are no visions.
All right, then how do you know any of this?
There are a couple of sources we know, but you get my point. What?
No.
My
I
point of
don't.
view
We
is.
don't get your point. That's the whole point. Is that we don't get your point because, like, look, I like to read philosophy, George. So I understand there's people with views like that think the mind's not physical. They think the brain's physical, but the mind isn't. There's people that think that everything's mental. Like, I get the claims of the views, understand them. We're just wanting to know why. And then when Johnny or I asked that question, you add something else that we also don't believe in, like soul stuff. So it's like you have all of this metaphysical baggage, that all of this assumptions that non-believers like us don't accept. So if like the goal is to convince us, why do you think you could ever convince us if the reason that you give us is assuming souls exist, which assumes the falsity of our position? Why would we ever look at that reason and go, oh yeah, that makes sense. I never thought about it that way. The soul thing that I deny, yeah, that's a good reason for me to believe to get to the chain of reasoning on this other thing, right? None of those links in the chain are even things that we accept. You have to give links in the chain that we accept so we can get to your conclusion. Otherwise, we're going to sit there and just say, why should we believe that? Why should we believe this whole thing?
Yeah,
Why should
very well said, J Mike. Now, George, go back to the beginning. Go back to the beginning. Souls.
So,
what is a soul?
we are a family. We are a family of souls. Eternal.
Okay, George, thank you for making another assertion. And maybe this is convincing to you because you already believe it. We don't believe in souls. We don't really understand what a soul is because every time we get a different caller, they have a slightly nuanced understanding of it. But more importantly, we don't know that they actually exist in the really real world. So tell me why you believe, first of all, what is a soul?
I was about to say, because my only understanding is like it's constitutive of James Brown, baby. Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
Let me speak a little bit. We are souls, but the mind and the persona is a construct. So we are a family. That's why we are here together on the earth, and we are a family of souls. And we have infinite worlds to choose from. That is what we do.
Okay,
So many
great.
assumptions.
Great. George, what is a soul? Describe it. You found it in the dictionary. What is
You
a
are
soul?
a soul. You are a soul. Reality itself. You are the soul. But the person is a construct.
I'm Mike. What's a soul?
Yeah, George, I am a soul. Okay, I'm a lot of things to a lot of different people. All right? And that doesn't tell me anything. What do you mean I am a soul?
So far, we got a soul is a soul. That's what we got so far.
Let me say this. We never leave heaven. We're dreaming in heaven right now.
Back to the question that's on the table. Objection non-responsive. What is a soul? Answer that question.
You are. It's you.
No, you keep saying you wait, Mike, George, please hold on for a sec. You keep saying you are a soul, right? Now I am a person. Johnny is a person. Are you implying that part of our person is the soul, or is all of our personhood the soul? And if it's not our whole personhood, what part of us is the soul?
You are the matrix. You are the soul.
That George, you're not listening to me. You didn't answer my question at all. It was like you didn't listen to me at all. Okay, so I'm gonna try again. You said that you are a soul when you said it to Johnny. So I'm looking at Johnny and I'm seeing a person there, but I don't see a soul there. So what part of Johnny are you calling the soul?
We are eternal beings with infinite mind. And
George.
we have infinite worlds, dimensions to choose from when we are on the other side, on the beyond.
Cool story, George. Okay, you say that I'm a soul, and you totally aren't answering this question. You've done nothing to illuminate my understanding. Communication is a means by which individuals use sounds or words, letters written or electronically conveyed or through voice to another person. The sounds are attached to words, the words are attached to meanings, and those meanings are meant to convey. So I want to understand better what you mean when you say that I'm a soul. In what sense am I a soul? Don't give me a little bracketed little like phrase. Give me a paragraph, not about infinite universes, not about this, not about that. How am I a soul? Keep talking, and I will keep listening.
Well, we are made in the image of to create and to choose. This is why we're here, to choose from a gamma, a palitra of things. It doesn't matter what we do. We're doing it for fun as eternal beings.
Yeah, no. That's not, I don't know if we have, if we're thinking on the same level. What is your definition of a soul? Don't tell me it's me. What is your definition of a soul?
Non-physical aspects of us.
Okay.
We're getting a little bit, but it's still kind of circular because the whole thing we started with was the non-physical mind. But
I know I'm not.
George, I'm gonna tell you. Well, go on. What? Say again.
So it is made. Reality is a construct. It's a projection. It's a reflection, so that we can choose and create anything at all.
George, let me ask you this quick little question, okay? Are you a preacher? Are you a minister? Are you a practitioner of religious ceremonies in any way?
No, nothing like that. No cults, no religious stuff. I'm Orthodox Christian. I'm baptized, but I'm from Eastern Europe, so it's a little bit this and that.
It is a little bit this and that over there.
So what do you want to know?
It's true.
Ask me anything.
Well, I guess what I was trying to figure out is the way that you're talking to us, George, and so perhaps this is something you could, a field you could go into, but you're taking for granted, it seems to me, in the way that you're conveying to us your thoughts. You're taking for granted that we already understand a lot of base level, like introductory level concepts, and we've accepted those concepts as true. All right, that there is such a thing as a soul, that there is such a thing as an immaterial existence, right? That there is such a thing as a coming into being and a passing away of identity through what was called a spiritual process, whatever that means, dimensions, universes, and that kind of stuff, and God and all that jazz. We don't, believe that it exists, and we can't even comprehend how it would work. So in order to get us to your even like mid-ground destination, right, you have to start way in the back, way in the beginning. Like do you have any children or any nieces or nephews or anything like that?
What was that?
Do you have any children in your life of whom you have a familial relationship?
No,
No.
I don't.
Okay. Well, because I was going to suggest if you were explaining to a child the concept of a soul, I would like to hear what that explanation is. And if you had a kid or a niece or a nephew or some friend who had kids, that might be helpful, but you don't. Okay. All right. So we could keep talking, and I guess we will, because it may be that we have some really good material here, folks in the audience, but we have to really kind of get down to brass tacks. So in your definition of soul, there is a non-material aspect of a person's existence. You would agree with that, right?
Actually, the individual and the mind is a construct. We are the matrix itself.
Okay.
I don't know. What does that even mean? That just sounds like nothing.
Well, George said before, we are all up in heaven, and what's happening here on earth is a dream. He said that to us before. I don't agree with any of that.
Yeah.
And I would like to have that proven.
Yeah. Good one, Kelley. Go ahead. And George, I don't know how I was so on point when I said I wanted to know the why, but go ahead. Proof of God. But give us evidence.
Let me add something.
No.
Please don't add any more. We are
add
asking
add one more you. That's you.
Yeah.
We are asking you to show us evidence of what you have already said. We don't want you to add more to it. We want here. Look, think of it as this. Think of it as a math problem. 2 + 2 = 4. You've shown us the 4. Now show us the 2 + 2 part that got you to the 4. How did you get to soul? We all have souls, and souls are eternal. Show us the math problem that got you to that answer.
Well, the world is a reflection. It's a projection of.
You're just repeating the same thing again. You're not telling us how you got to that belief.
Do you read Bernardo Castro per chance? Because I feel like that's what he's doing.
You get this? I have a couple of sources from YouTube.
Oh boy!
If he says the name that I just said, it'll all make sense to me in a minute.
What is one of the YouTubers that you like to watch?
Oh, let's not promote him.
Yeah.
So you want me to straight to say yes?
George,
we've gotten nowhere in this conversation.
George, let me ask you this. You say that you get this evidence from a YouTuber, right? And we're YouTubers. Do you think that what we're saying, everything we're saying is true? Do you think that everything do you think that everything we say is true because we're on YouTube?
Well, you say facts and you say
I didn't say that. I didn't say that at all, and that's not answering my question. It's a very simple question. The three of us are on YouTube. Do you think that everything we say on YouTube is the truth?
No way. It's not like
Okay. That's the answer I was looking for, and that's the correct answer. Now, you say that you got all this information from another guy on YouTube. What makes you think that guy is telling you the truth just because he's on YouTube?
There are a couple or three sources like that.
Okay, here, let me add to the source, George. Let me add to the pile of sources, because this is the substance I think your source is. I'm on YouTube right now. I guess you could call me a YouTuber. God isn't real. Okay,
Yep.
There's a source for you on YouTube, on the internet, and has just as much support as any of the other things you're saying.
And
right?
I'm going to say God isn't real. Johnny, you want to say it too?
It's not good evidence. Just because like 3 YouTubers on an atheist channel just say it isn't good evidence.
Because that was 3 sources.
Yeah.
if all three of us say it. And that's just
But-
what you said. You had three sources. So what's the difference
So-
between us and them?
What the videos contain is like people get together in a big hall and they ask questions
That sounds like what
to
we do.
the person, to the people.
So, the source of the information that you get, is it? Would you say it's fair? Was it fair to say that the format is that there is a thinker or a wise man who is sitting on a stage or surrounded by people in some other way among the people, and that person is speaking truths to the crowd, and the crowd asks the speaker questions about the speaker's belief and the nature of reality? Is that the format that you're talking about?
Yes, people in your country make gatherings, and it's very nice, very fun, but they use the person, the speaker, as a telephone, angels, and ETs from the future. Okay?
Right. Okay. George, I honestly can say that I don't understand what on earth you're talking about. And I've really been trying to understand because I'm trying to figure out if you've been watching like an Osho, kind of like a mystical shaman kind of person who's spouting out what you've been doing, like statements, declarations, bald-faced, unsubstantiated assertions about the nature of reality and our individual existence, and then other people ask questions and that the person just says more. Wherever you're learning how these conversations work, on YouTube or in person, it's not effective for us to have a conversation in that format because I don't understand your position any more than when you started the conversation, because I don't think you understand the idea of why. Why does not mean I can give you another adjective. Why does not mean I can give you another fact. Why means provide us the factual, logical evidence that underlies the truth value of a statement, right? The car is blue. What would be an example of how you'd prove that? Well, I could take you to the car and I could show you. I could also get like a little spectrometer or something, and I could read the wavelengths reflecting off of the car, and it falls within a certain category, and I can say, that's red. That's what we call red, friend. You know, I could get a bunch of people who could say, oh yeah, it's red. What color is the car? It was red. A bunch of people could provide testimony to it. But there's a way you could verify the truths. You've given us nothing to verify any of the many claims you've made about the non-material world, souls, all that stuff. You're just saying more crap. And it may very well be true, but we can't get to the heart of whether it is because you won't play the game, man. So I'm done. Kelley, J Mike, last thoughts.
I would ask what is a soul, but I don't want to go. I just got over
It's you, J Mike.
crying, so I'm not going to do that again. But nope, I'm good. Kelley, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I don't think we're getting anywhere either. So I don't think that George understands what we're asking for, and it might be a language problem, but I don't think he understands what we're saying.
Yeah,
George?
and I wanted to. Sorry, I did want to say if there's a language issue, I apologize there. And I do want to apologize to you, George. I was laughing during the call. I wasn't laughing like directly at you. The responses that you kept giving, though, like the content of the responses were just like, I mean, they're just great. They're just beautiful for me. So I appreciated that. It was interesting. But I would say that you don't want that type of response. You want to have people believe you when you say stuff. And presumably, if your case is really defensible, it's true, right? Kind of like taking Johnny to the car and showing him, that you can include the out group right? The out group, people that aren't part of your in group will see that and go, yeah, that fact is true. Yeah, of course it's true. It shouldn't be so context specific to the in group, right? And so I don't think that when you were giving these examples, like you might get a bunch of people inside the group that go, yeah, George, you're onto something. This is great. But the test really should be the tool of the skeptic that you create for yourself. You want to create this tool for yourself that goes, if I'm wrong about this, what would the skeptic say, right? What would their objection type be, right? You want to create that tool everywhere you go in life. It's just my advice.
Yeah. And I would say,
let me say something.
Please.
So a world like ours has perks for the non-physical side, because if you have an infinite mind, there's nothing to choose from. You're already there.
Minds aren't infinite.
You're not. Yeah, you're just saying more BS, man. It's not. You're not landing anything here with us.
I mean, because Kelley.
We've given you plenty of chances to try to explain the claims that you're making, and you just keep saying the same thing over and over and over without trying to explain why you think it's real. That's
George,
that's what we want to know. Why do you think this is real? Why do you think we have souls?
Yeah.
Why do you think the mind is infinite? Why do you think souls are eternal? And you haven't given us a single answer to any of those questions.
George, this is not going to be something that you like to hear, but I would love it if you would send an email to tv@atheist-community.org. And if you would write down your thoughts in a several page long essay, okay? Every time you come to a word, I would like you to provide a footnote, and I would like you to define that word. And that sounds ridiculous, right? But you're using words like soul, spirit, heaven, whatever. Anytime you come to a word that maybe somebody might not know what is meant by that word, I would like you to provide a footnote with a definition. And if in that definition you come to another word or phrase that could maybe not be understood by someone because it's a complicated thought or whatever, you have a special understanding of it, provide a footnote for that footnote. And you will see how frustrating it will be to talk to you, because everything you've said has a special meaning. And whenever asked about the meaning of that phrase, you give another meaning, another claim, another set of assumptions. We can't even begin to have a conversation, George, until you define the terms that you're using. And I don't think you really understand that. I thought you were a preacher, because a lot of charlatans will do that. They'll just get the momentum going, and then they'll start spouting nonsense. And then there's a lot of people out there in YouTube land who like to be wowed by smart words. Jordan Peterson fans, for example, love it when he goes off on a tear, because it sounds so smart and deep and meaningful and complex. And I'm part of that now too. So I'm deep and smart and meaningful and complex. But that's just not the way how real communications work. So, George, I think I'd love to have you call back again, but I would like you to go through the exercise, at the very least, of articulating your beliefs on the existence of the soul, and you called specifically about eternal beings and a higher power, mind, and creator. Write it all down in an essay, define your terms, and maybe send it or don't send it back to us, and we can continue this conversation. But until such time, I'm going to have to let you go. All right? So you take care. And guys, what just happened?
Yeah, I'm not sure on that one.
I've moved on mentally.
Yeah, so did I. So did I. I was just like, we're not getting.
I was not getting too invested in that.
Yeah.
No. I'm going to read some super chats because I am invested in that.
There's quite a few of them.
Yeah, Gaius Husky, follow along with me, guys, because we'll go through them if you wish. Says he gave us $5, US American dollars, Forget what the Bible says or what God says, because you can either think for yourself or spend your whole life letting others think for you. Yep. Mike, you want to read Halo Master?
Halo Master. Is there one above it? Nope. Okay. Halo Master 1243. It's like $10. Thank you. 10 Canadian dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, those aren't real money. What? Come on, man. Cheap.
It's real.
No, I'm just kidding.
Canadian.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Unfortunately, I will not be able to make the live. Oh, I did read this earlier, but I wanted to express my gratitude with love and financial support. Have a great time. Keep up the excellent work. I'll catch you later tonight. We appreciate you, Halo Master, and I saw that before the show and appreciate that.
Thank you so much. Kelley, read the next one if you would.
The next one comes from Boyd R, $10, and it's I missed one. I'm sorry.
just continue.
Yeah. And it says, isn't a unicorn just a long-toothed horse?
Is it long-toothed horse?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me either.
I
guess like a narwhal, which has one horn. Isn't the
yeah.
narwhal's horn a tooth? So I guess that would be.
Could be. Dan Johnson has sent us $4.20. Mm-hmm. And he says, go Pack, go. Indeed, go Pack, go. Mike, get the next one.
Oh, you want me to comment on the football shenanigans. I was like, I don't know that I can help you there. I lost my fantasy football league, so I'm done with football. So we are at.
I'll do the next one.
Do the next one because I've scrolled up and I lost my place.
I got it. I got the next one. Follow me. Find it. I'm in Blind Limey, friend of the show and a host. Says a member for 1 year, $5. Kelley, J Mike, and Johnny P, an unholy trinity in your vicinity, sinning with serious symbiotic synergy.
Ooh.
I love that. I read that. Thank you so much. All right, Mike, get the next one, please.
Miranda Rensberger, new member, $5. I've worked in a neuro ICU and seen people wake up from comas all the time after weeks. Brains heal. It's science, not God. Over.
Yeah. There's angels in there, though. Miranda.
Thank you for your work in all things greatness of science. We appreciate that.
Yeah, Kelley.
Quantum Answer member for 2 years. Nothing to say, but gifted us $10 to the Atheist, or gifted 10 Atheist Experience memberships. So thank you, Quantum Answer. I'm going to thank you for the 10 people you gifted too.
Thank you. We got another one from Alan Ferguson, a member for 2 months, and he gave us 10 American dollars. And he says, we hit the trifecta with you guys this afternoon. Great show. Thank you so much for the compliment and for the $10. Mike?
Yeah, everybody, importance of, if you have theist friends, tell them to call in. We'll make the show way better with more theists. So just want to throw that out there. Quantum Answer member for 2 years. I don't know what kind of currency this is. CZK.
Is it Czech or is it Czech kroner? Yeah,
Czech kroner. Yeah.
It says 200. That's a big number in my book, really. So yeah. I mean, I'm saying thank you. Roger, I figured it out. George's second name is Roger. I figured it out. Sorry, it took me a second. George's second name is Chopra. Over. By the way, I was dying the same way, J Mike. 100% worth the call for the laughs. Well, I hope that was entertaining.
Thank you.
I think I snotted a little, so I apologize to anybody that observed a little bit of that. I think I got it back in time, but yeah. I'm sure if you scroll back in the video, you can freeze frame on the exact moment. So if that interested.
Kelley?
From Florian Schmidt, 5.99 euros. And they said, I didn't think I was going to be able to watch AXP live today, but the Packers are bullying the Cowboys on national TV. So here I am. Go J Mike.
Whoa. I wasn't expecting that. Thank you.
Unexpected. All right. Let's go to a call. John is a guy coming from South Carolina. And John says, if atheists are right, why does it matter that people believe in God? All right. Briefly, people can believe in God. That's fine. As far as I'm concerned, John, I have friends who believe in God and they're great people. What makes them great people is that they care about other people. They're not trying to force their beliefs on others and to oppress the free expression of other people's beliefs and what I would call the civil rights of others. It matters because a lot of people who do believe in supernatural things can't help themselves. They can't keep, as I like to say, they can't keep it in their pants. They got to whip it out and hit everyone else with it. That's why it matters. What is thy response?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What's that?
What's your response to that? What do you think?
Yep. So I agree with you that as far as, people's beliefs sometimes can cause them to impose their thoughts and even actions on others, maybe try to influence government policy, a number of different things. So I think it can cause harm, kind of more the angle I was coming from, and I guess it was hard to, express it in, such few words, but basically my question was, there's been a lot of discussion in the past, especially, when Tracy Harris was still on the show, as far as Pascal's wager, and people would, theists typically will say, well, if it turns out that atheism is true, then it doesn't matter, to which Tracy or others also would reply, oh, but it does matter because you're wasting your life on this, da-da-da-da-da. And so my question is, how in an atheistic world, like if atheism is in fact true, turns out to be true, how does it matter? Because, and as far as we know right now, a few billion years from now, the universe is going to undergo heat death, and at that point, nothing will matter. So how
do you care about,
does it matter in any objective, meaningful way, I guess is what I'm asking.
Great question. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you care about, like, if people in other galaxies know what you're doing right now, or like know about your projects? Like, presumably you don't care about that. If there's like aliens or something similar to Homo sapiens with intelligence like us, right, some other far galaxy, do you think that you would care? Like, would it matter to you if they were involved in your projects? Like, I knew about them and cared about them?
Well, let's see. Would it matter?
It doesn't seem like it matters, right?
They care about?
Yeah, right. That doesn't seem like it matters, right? Like, there's still intrinsic value, we want to call it that. There's still like value to what you do, right? I don't really care if some distant galaxy knows what projects I'm interested in, people 1,000 years from now. I don't need like an extrinsic kind of predication onto like value, right? Like, I don't need someone to, like, when I'm hugging my mom or something like that, I don't need something to come over and sprinkle like external value salt on top of us so that it's meaningful. I don't care if a distant galaxy knows about that occurrence. I don't care if once I'm dead, if anybody else, like, none of that stuff doesn't matter. Like, clearly that stuff doesn't matter. What does matter is that, like, what's going on, right? Like, if you were to throw a child, off of a building, God forbid, right? You don't need an extrinsic like wrongness in order to say there is real suffering. The child feels it. They're suffering from the parents. They're suffering from people peripheral in extended family or friends or anything. It has this cascading effect, right? But all of that only needs the value internal to what's going on. It doesn't need like God or anything else to sprinkle the bad salt on top of it, right? Like, that would be weird to me. I mean, do you think that it needs some extrinsic force of meaning that's put onto things that imbues things with meaning? Or do you think that, like, they're just in and of themselves, those types of things?
Well, so here's my thinking. When Tracy or others, she's just the main one, that I noticed that talked about this in several episodes over the years. But when I say Tracy, that'll mean everybody that I've heard.
But you're having to be fair though, you're having a conversation with us.
Yeah.
So like, Tracy's not here, so let's not worry about that. Let's just worry about what we're saying.
Yeah, fair enough. So
what would be a response to what would be a response to what I was saying?
Please continue. John, please talk. You're good. Thank you.
I'd just like you to respond. I'd just like you to respond to what I said.
John, please respond. There's a delay and it gets confusing, but please, the ball's in your court.
Okay. So, yeah, I agree with you that there's no need to sprinkle that on there, but the implication to me when atheists say that is they're saying, oh, but it does matter in an objective way, because if it turns out that it's not true, Like, why would it matter if it turns out that atheism is true and that
That's
theists
an in-house
wasted their lives
dispute.
on a lie? Like, why would that matter?
Right.
That's an in-house dispute between atheists. Some don't hold to objective morality. That's an in-house dispute.
That's true. And can I ask you a question, John? What if at the end of the universe you find out Buddhism was true? How is that going to matter?
Well, so Buddhism is kind of an atheistic system in of itself.
I know what Buddhism is. You don't have to explain Buddhism to me. But can you answer my question? What difference would it make if you found out that Buddhism was true? Why would that matter?
It wouldn't really matter to me. It just would turn out to be true.
Okay, so that would be the same thing with atheism. I don't know why you're picking atheism to be like a separate thing than any other ideal.
Can I respond?
I'm just simply responding to atheists responding to theists, saying, "Oh, well."
And I'm responding to your response.
John, answer that, and then I think I know where you're going. Please respond to Kelley, and then let me ask you a question, because I cut to the chase here.
Okay, Kelley, could you restate your last question?
The question is it, and I used Buddhism as an example, but you could use any idealism, right? What if you find out that it isn't true? What if you find out Christianity isn't true at the end of the universe? What difference is it going to make at the end of the universe? Because that was what your question was.
Mm-hmm. So I guess it would turn out to be true, and that it would be the same thing with atheism.
No, I asked you if you found out it wasn't true, because that was what you were asking us. If you found out atheism wasn't true at the end of the universe, what difference would it make?
Was it?
So I'm asking you the same question. I'm just putting Christianity instead of atheism.
Okay. Yeah. So it just would turn out not to be true. And I guess
okay. Well, that's what would happen with atheism too. It would just turn out not to be true. What's the big deal?
So all I'm asking, and this is why I called in to ask you guys, is in that response of, oh, but it does matter.
Yeah, and I gave reasons why it does matter. I gave that there was an extrinsic or an intrinsic notion of mattering, and the extrinsic one seems ridiculous because the only reason that it would matter for you to throw a baby off a building is if God came over and hovered over and sprinkled the bad salt, or if it was good to hug your mother. It'd only be good in virtue of some extrinsic force onto that action. You don't actually care about the intrinsic actions itself. So that's what I was trying to point out to you in the first place, right? That I did give a response.
John, I don't know if you can hear me, but okay, you can. Good. So I think that everyone is asking a question around, but I think I know what the question is. It matters to atheists as to the right or wrongness of actions because we are human beings. We are intelligent creatures who are semi-herd mentality creatures and semi-individualistic creatures. We exist in communities. We form emotional, psychological, economic, and political bonds with each other, right? I can do nothing, really, aside from live in the woods, without the help of others, without the person who makes the axe, unless I make my own damn axe. I can have no relationships. I can have no meaningful interactions with others without others to be there to begin with. And I think that humanity has evolved from whatever state we were in the beginning of life to a state where we exist in these little tribes in this little community. And what affects me affects other people. What affects other people affects me insofar as we interact with each other. So if something bad happens to someone across the world, at some high concept level, it affects me. But the closer we get to my world, the world that I live in, right? it affects me. It's a selfish way of looking at it, but it's really real. If I found out for some reason that something terrible happened to you after the show, and I really hope it doesn't, for whatever my hope amounts to, I would be affected. I'm like, oh my gosh, I was talking to John earlier on a call, and I'll find out that you were injured. I would be emotionally affected. I don't need to have a spiritual connection. I don't need to have some sort of God tell me that. A person in my sphere of interaction was affected, was harmed in some way. And whether I wanted it or not, I'd be like, I made a personal connection with that person. And now I'm living in a world where a person I talk to, something terrible happened to that person. So we're interconnected, whether we like it or not. Some people would like to make an us or a them out of things. A lot of politicians love that. Them, they're terrible. We're great. They're terrible. And if we could just get all of what we need, well, they can go fly a kite. And in fact, maybe not fly a kite, maybe something worse than not flying a kite. So, but that's just stupid propaganda. The truth is, as living beings, we're interconnected. And the closer you get to a person's center of their interaction sphere, or whatever you want to call it, it affects you more. And we've evolved to get to that state. This is such a long way of answering it. But I have a psychological, emotional, social, political reactions to when something happens. I want good things to happen to other people so that there's more good things in the world. A rising tide raises all boats. I don't need a supernatural being to tell me that something is right or wrong, because I can feel that it's right or wrong in the sense that I have like maybe an instinct about it. And then I have like certain ideas and they feed back and forth with each other, my instinct and my rationale. And I can understand that someone being harmed is not good for them or me or the society that we lived in, because it's making the world a worse place. Now, what does it matter if the heat death of the universe takes place, right? What does it matter if the sun expands or explodes or just disappears for some reason? When everything is said and done, the universe will have no trace in the atheist worldview necessarily of humans ever being there, and certainly no humans will be there to carry on the story. You know, the story continues, and we come and go in the telling. But what matters? Well, it matters in the moment. When I see a person suffering because of something, I want to help. When I see someone happy, even if I don't like that, I don't know that person, it happens to me all the time. Like, I start laughing along with them if they're in a restaurant. Like, wow, they're having a good time. We're connected. And that's why it matters, because we live in an interconnected world and our actions have real consequences. And anyone who can sort of rationalize their way out of it, right? To say, well, nothing really matters. Anyone can see. We're all going to experience a heat death. I can do whatever I want to. They're so disconnected with the biological and social reality of what it means to be a human being that I'm concerned about being in the same society with them. That's why it matters. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I agree with you 100% with pretty much everything you said. Everything you said makes sense. To me, it's just like you just said, it matters in the moment. But then after that moment and then forward into the heat death of the universe, it won't matter then. So I think just in terms of tying that
Why does it have to?
Pascal's wager thing.
Yeah, why does
it have to?
J Mike says it. Does it have to matter after the end of the heat death, after space time ends because of the second singularity?
This is why I asked you, do you care about if there are other galaxies? Do you care about if they care about what you're doing right now? And clearly you don't. It sounds like the same exact thing to me. It sounds like the exact same thing to me. That was weird. I heard myself. Am I talking out of my... No, okay.
My fault.
No, you're good. That's why I asked. That's why I phrased it the way I did. No, you're good. We're back now. But do you see why I asked that question initially? Because I was asking that because that sounds like the same thing. Like there's some distant group of people that you know, it might matter to. Why does that matter? I don't care if a galaxy right now knows about what I'm doing. You know, like I care if it helps other people, but that's not the meaning. The meaning is that like there's some psychological fact about me. It's something to do with my genetics, my upbringing, my parents, that I want to help people. And I want to do this show and help other people that are in this transition period or not quite there yet. Right. I don't see why you have to extend the inquiry any further than that. It seems like when we do that now, it's like you get these weird consequences where it only matters if there's an external force that makes it matter. It's not internal or intrinsic to the thing. I find that to be kind of absurd. It's kind of like saying, well, my friends don't really matter. They matter if and only if God sprinkles the good salt onto them. That's the way that I hear that.
Did you?
Mm-hmm. And I'm really trying to avoid that because you know, I'm an agnostic theist, and so I'm not even 100% sold that like my beliefs are true, and that's a whole different phone conversation for another time. So
sure.
Have you seen The Seventh Seal by Ingmar Bergman?
I don't even ever heard of that.
What's it?
Yeah, The Seventh Seal. John, have you heard of that one?
I've heard of that. I'm not exactly sure what that refers to, but I have heard the term before.
Max von Sydow plays a Crusader knight who comes back. And I believe, if I remember correctly, he brings the plague back with him. He's marked for death, literally death, with the sickle and everything. And he ends up playing, correct me if I'm wrong, Kelley, because you've obviously seen it. He ends up playing chess with death. And every person they interact with, I believe, dies. And it's an examination of the nature of life and death and living with the knowledge of death. And the image from The Seventh Seal that always plays in my mind, aside from Max von Sydow being Max von Sydow and death playing chess, is all these people, the dead, I believe, if I remember correctly, in a little parade walking along in silhouette. And I remember talking about this with a friend of mine many years ago, back when I had recently seen the movie. All of us, whether I think we want to admit it or not, we dance on the edge of a precipice, right? And the precipice is the end. We know we die, right? And some people, I'm not saying you, and I'm not saying any of our callers, some people fabricate a cheat code for that and say, no, you don't die, friend. If you'll just give me $5 every week or more, I can tell you the keys to a wonderful kingdom where you never have to die. And your grandmother will be there, and so will your puppy. And that got hit by a car when you were a kid. We don't have that. On some level, atheists don't accept that that's real. We have meaning in the lives that we live, despite the fact that the precipice is out there. We're going to fall off one day, and there's nothing that can stop us from doing so. But before we do, we're going to enjoy ourselves and make connections and do meaningful things, even if it's a fiction, even if it's temporary. And even though the heat death is going to burn it all away or cold it all away, and there'll be never another sentient being within this instance of the universe. While we're here, we're going to enjoy the meal. While we're here, we're going to teach children how to read. That's life. So it's not a good answer. And it's something that I've been struggling with since I was probably like 20-ish. But it's not a cheat code. It's, for me, it's real. And I don't give up. I continue, as we all do. So that's the not very good answer to a very difficult question.
I think it's interesting, Johnny, because like since I didn't have the same background, like it's very foreign to me to have this view, whereas I think other people struggle with it. And it's like, I think it just highlights your history and your upbringing. And to me, it seems like, I don't know, I don't want to just make it like, there's the solution. It's obviously like I wasn't inundated to these things, so it's easy for me not to be. Like, I don't have any fear of hell. I don't have any of these kind of things that I think people wrestle with. But, I'm just wondering how much that impacts why that's important to you and other people who are losing their faith.
John, tell us what are your thoughts to what J Mike just said and what I just said? You because you talked about objective, and I'm like, objective? I don't know about objective. All I know is my own subjective experience in the world that I want to live in, and all the things that I talked about with Ingmar Bergman. What are your thoughts on that? What do you have to say?
Yeah. So the first one that you mentioned about the seventh seal and the whole thing about the cheat code, like I completely acknowledge and have long wondered if, most or all religion is not just, basically a scam for the reasons that you said. So I'm 100% open to that possibility. Hey, hold on. Someone's playing music here in the background. If you don't mind, if you need to drop the call, that's fine. But let me just one sec. Thank you. Sorry about that.
You've been respectful. So no worries.
Yeah, Kelley, you haven't said a lot lately. What are your thoughts on this?
Hey, guys, you still there?
Yep. Well, let's let Kelley finish his thought. Kelley, go ahead. And I guess that's what he's saying.
Yes. And so let's just for a simple thing here to try to wrap this up, because I don't want to take all your time up. But so let's say that just right now we assume atheism is true, and I live my whole life as a theist, and I waste time on it when I could have spent time on other things. That's one of the big points that's been made. And so then I live out my life, and then like you said, that precipice is there. I die, and then this is all there is. After the moment that I die, how does it matter that I wasted all my time on? I mean, it's a shame in the way that you said about things being connected, but beyond that moment, beyond my life, so what? That's all. Really, all I'm asking. And this is just specifically dealing with that discussion on Pascal's wager. And beyond that, like I said, I'm not even 100% convinced myself that my beliefs are true. So it's really just a question about that around that Pascal wagers thing. So that
I think the so what sells it all. I mean, so what? So what? You may have wasted some of your time in your life believing in something that wasn't real. That's why I personally want unambiguous empirical evidence for anything that I'm going to believe and waste time on. Right now, I do other things. I have hobbies. I paint gaming miniatures. That doesn't get me anywhere. It doesn't do anything for me. In the end of my life, I'm just going to have wasted hours and hours painting little miniatures. But I get some comfort out of it. It's kind of like a Zen exercise for me, but in the end, at the end of my life, none of that's going to matter. Right. So I don't understand why atheism needs to have an answer at the end of life or anything else, because at that point, nothing matters anymore.
John,
I guess maybe sometimes it just depends on how it's framed, but it was just a response to certain atheists themselves saying, "Oh, but it does matter," in response to the theists saying that. So they're making a claim, "Oh, it does matter," and I'm saying, "Well, how does it matter though once that person dies?"
Okay, but that's other atheists, right? And I think it does matter while I'm alive. It matters a lot while I'm alive and on this earth and interacting with other people. It matters. But at the end of the universe, at the end of my life, it's not going to matter anymore.
John, the meal is incredible until you eat the last piece. Does that mean that 5 days after the meal was eaten, it wasn't incredible?
No, it's still incredible. I agree with you on that point 100%, and I know where you're coming from there.
Yeah. I think you've asked, this is a great call. It's something that I have always struggled with. And all three of us have way different ways of approaching this for sure. And your question is valid. Watch the seventh seal. if you want to.
It's a good
but-
movie.
Yeah, but it's not the only one that addresses this question. It's just a classic, you know. But yeah. But yeah, we're not here for a long time, but we're here for a good time. This is stupid. But while we're here, our focus is on the now. And I think one of the big differences between theists and atheists, or at least theists and atheist humanists, because I don't really love the atheist non-humanists too much, is we're focused on the world that we know is here. The world that we know is here, and the ways we can do well, knowing, or at least not believing, that after the heat death, after the sun expands, or whatever, that there'll be no evidence for it. Because we're rooted in humanism and in humanity and the well-being of all, even if it's a flash in the cosmic pan. So, but do appreciate your call. I hope that gave you some.
Yeah,
take care.
Yeah, John, have a good one, and we can drop you. I'll just say this if you want to listen back to the call. It's really important too if you get more into like the philosophical, if you decide to venture into that kind of rabbit hole. There are kind of two ways that people will talk about something really mattering, or, if you say, well, it doesn't really matter. Well, I mean, I'm somebody that takes values to be dependent upon the stances that a person takes in the collective of the community or whatever, where some atheists might actually disagree. They'll say, no, these values are like independent of your opinions. They're independent of your stances. And that's what really matters. And I find that there is just this talk where one person is just saying, my view is the one that really matters. The other person is saying, my view is the one that really matters. And you don't really get anywhere. It's just like, let me express to you internally what I mean. Values being dependent on a mind, but dependent on a stance, and why I care and why my inquiry kind of stops there. And on the other end, it seems like unnecessary baggage to continue with the inquiry. But I think that's an important point, because a lot of times there's this crosstalk where when you say wrongness, someone means it stance independently and someone else means it stance dependently. And those are just two different concepts of the same word that's being expressed. So that's really important, I think, that when you talk about values and stuff like that.
Yeah. As a final thought before we move on to our next segment, I care about what the society looks like, because I live in it, right? If there's somebody who's really mulling over whether murder is objectively or subjectively wrong, and until they come to a conclusion, they're going to they're not going to have a stance on it, and they're going to maybe kill or not. I'm going to do everything I can to stop that person from interacting in society. Certainly with me, certainly with my friends and loved ones, and certainly with anybody. So there's a practical aspect of it, and I think that's it's cool to label moral positions. We've had many calls about that over the years, but it comes right down to: do you want to live in a world where this kind of behavior is rampant, or even like unpunishable, so that people will do it without repercussions? No, you don't. No one does. And the philosophical community that wants to debate whether they're theist or atheist on this, they don't either. It's just how many angels can dance on the head of a pin. But you know what?
There's a lot, apparently. They can.
But a real question too. Yeah, a lot of them on the pin. So we have a lot of interesting people out there in the world. Some of them call the show. Some of them email us. Some of them don't even know that we exist, but some of them send voicemails. And we would love to play a voicemail for all of you.
Delicious voicemails.
I'm calling the Atheist Experience because I'm inviting somebody, anybody, for the love of God, to please debate me, because I'm not impressed with your arguments. I've proven the existence of God. I have the scientific evidence. I have the modal logic to prove it. I have the rational justification. I have it lock, stock, and barrel. Lock, stock, and barrel. Now, to the degree to which any of you are possessed of any degree of intellectual honesty whatsoever to speak of, this is the phone call you've been waiting for your whole lives. I don't want to hear any pussy shit. By the way, I'm bringing the heat. The gloves come off in the same way that the atheists take the gloves off when it brings the fight to the theists. I'm bringing the fight to the atheists. I'm going to fucking ruin your lives. So, this is where the fight begins. You want excitement. You want to take on the best that you possibly can get. I'm putting $10,000 up to anybody who wants to debate me, because I will dreck you. So put your money where your mouth is. untuck your nuts, show the fuck up, and let's get this debate on. Pick somebody, anybody, pick 5 of you to debate just me, and I will systematically drag you in front of a national audience. I'm not here to be nice, I'm here to wreck your shit. So, one of you guys, grow a dick, grow some balls, call me up, and fight my smug, rude, insolent, disrespectful ass. I know that you guys are pussies. I know that you guys don't want someone with this degree of confidence and power fighting you because you have everything to fucking lose, and trust me, you will lose everything. So put your money where your mouth is, take my 10 grand, or be the pussies that I actually think you are and ignore my call.
Well,
I want to point out that we did not get a call from this gentleman today. So it's hard to ignore it when you don't fucking call in.
Yeah.
yeah, you could.
But I'll take your offer. I will take your $10,000 if you want, and then you'll get, presumably, if you have the modal logic, which is a hilarious expression. If like you know anything about modal logics, you don't phrase it in such a weird way. But I guarantee you, he would give a formally invalid argument, not even know the difference between validity and soundness.
Are you untucking, J Mike, right now?
Oh,
Are you
yeah.
untucking any part of your body?
Oh, I got the belt. Oh, I'm ready, man.
Yeah.
I was
I have
just
a
thinking
feeling
he
I
could
won't
have
see the
saved
mic.
it. If he had just called us, he could have saved $10,000.
Yeah, and we'll take calls for free.
Yeah.
You know that he's his own hype man, certainly, and that's got to be admired a little bit. That he's there. He's bringing the energy to the atheist experience, and he wants us to respond, and that's all good and fine. I'm not in the business of debating anybody, so it's not going to be me. But whenever I hear people like that, whenever I hear these aggressive boys, when they talk like that, I just think how absolutely fragile their ego must be. And it's okay. It's okay. Like, we're not all towers of strength all the time. Not feeling so good myself these days, but
is it the voicemail that scared you? Because it scared me too.
Well, I feel like I gotta grow some stuff, but when you come at someone like that, I suppose that might work if you're like a Andrew Tate kind of a bro influencer or something like that, and maybe you're surrounded by individuals who respond to that, and when you're doing the circle jerk, maybe that expedites things. I don't know, because I don't live in that world. I'm just a smug pussy. You don't
live in the world of Facebook profile pictures of you holding a fish and talking about how you deny climate change and how atheists are all pussies. And yeah, all right. Well,
did he do the fish thing?
I just suspect that that's his profile picture. I think there's a high likelihood that the profile picture is like holding a fish, and then some comment somewhere about how climate change isn't real.
I love it. I love that he called. I love that he had the energy. A lot of people around here have been listening to it. We've been laughing. I won't lie. We've been having a lot of laughs. At your expense with you. I'm not sure, but I do appreciate the bravado. And who knows? Who knows what the future might hold? $10,000 is a lot of simoleons. So
yeah, I can retire.
Yeah.
For a couple of months anyway.
Yeah.
It's big money to me, Kelley. No, I'm just kidding.
Maybe what'll happen is this guy is going to call in one day, and hopefully he's Mike. I think you're pretty poised to be the guy he's looking for. Although he said he's got scientific evidence too, so maybe we're talking with Ben. Maybe we're talking with Forrest.
I could talk to him.
Kelly's got the knowledge as well. Who knows?
Which is ridiculous. If they go at it from an empiric standpoint, like we're gonna have a way worse time than just having like conceptual dribble, but whatever.
Well, talk fast. The key is, folks out there, if you want to win an argument, you've got to talk loud, you've got to talk fast, and you've got to talk aggressively. Because if you don't, then you're weak and on soy or something like that, I think. So personally, I'm an oat milk fan, but soy's all right too. Look, that's our show for today. Kelley, thank you so much for being on the show with me. Thank you for A, backing up the show, and B, jumping in when the technical difficulties happen, and C, joining us as our third man.
Thank you so much for letting me. I had a great time. I really did. It was a real honor to be up here with you and J Mike. It was awesome. Thanks.
A lot of fun having
And thanks, Kelley and Johnny, for being you, a soul, because that's what I learned today.
Yes.
So I'm a soul. And all of you folks out there in YouTube land, you too are souls. And I hope that you are also super bad. That's AXP. Have a great week. See you next time. Bye.
What will it take for you to start opening your eyes, to start questioning the bullshit everyone around you buys? You think it's any of your business what goes on between my thighs? I wonder when we'll be rid of your eyes.
Watch Talk Heathen live Sundays at 1 p.m. Central. Visit tiny.cc/YTTH and call into the show at 512-991-9242 or connect to the show online at tiny.cc/callth.